Salve, salve! Eu sou o Igor Miranda e recebo aqui na Rolling Stone Brasil uma das atrações do Bangers Open Air, festival que acontece em São Paulo, no Memorial da América Latina. Estou aqui com simplesmente Kerry King. Hi, man. How you doing?
Good.
Oh, that's
good.
Great, man.
Always good.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Stoked to be here.
Amazing, man. How excited are you to return to Brazil to play with your solo band at Bangers Open Air, a heavy metal festival?
I'm really happy for the other guys in the band, because it's what we do together is it's crazy. We did I've been home for like a month, so we came off of doing a States run for like 6 weeks. And that tour, we really gelled and became a band, not just a bunch of dudes playing together. It became the training wheels came off. We're good now. So be prepared. It's going to be fun.
That's amazing, man. About the festival, that will have lots of bands like Avantasia, Wasp, Blind Guardian, Saxon, Powerwolf, Sabaton. I'm mentioning all these bands because there are too many bands. I know there's usually no time to watch, of course, the shows, but which ones would you like to see if you could?
I would have to look at a lineup of who's playing, because I don't even know what day we're playing. I looked on my website and it's got me listed as 2 days, but I know we're only playing one. So I gotta get all that info down. But I'll be there one day. Whoever's playing my day, if I have time, I'll get up to the stage. A lot of times it depends on security. It depends on how close my dressing area is to the stage, because it's difficult for me, because I've been here 40 years and people want photos, people want autographs, and that's cool. I like it, but it gets overwhelming, and if I've got too far to go, I can't go.
Absolutely. You're playing with Avantasia, Wasp, I think Blind Guardian, Destruction are on the same day as well, but there are so many bands.
Yeah. In different stages too, yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're in a solo band right now that also features Marcos Agueda from Death Angel. I think he played on the last edition of the same festival last year.
Oh, cool.
Paul Bostaph from Slayer on drums, Phil Demmel, former Machine Head, on guitar, Kyle Sanders, former Hell Yeah, on bass. What has it been like working with these guys? You said you bonded with them on the road, but you had more time with them because you recorded the album with them also. So how is the process of evolving this relationship, and what is it like right now?
Probably something you don't know is we never played together till we made a video.
Really?
Like everybody's in the studio, but the only people that played together was me and Paul. Because I did all Phil's rhythm tracks. Kyle came in, did bass, Mark did the vocals. But the first time we actually played together, not even amped up, we were just playing dead instruments in a video. That was the first time we played together. So that was kind of weird. And then we got together to rehearse for the first show, being Reggie's, I think last May. It felt good, but it's been, even when we weren't perfect, it was awesome. But now that we've got so many shows under our belt, it's like second nature. To where before it was like, where's Kyle going to be? Can I go over here now? I've been on stage 40 years, but 3 of the guys in my band I've never been on stage with before. So it's figuring out when I go, figuring out when Phil and Kyle go, trying to get Mark in and out of those places. So, like I said, second nature now. It's a band. It's gelled. I'm looking forward to bringing it down here. It's gonna be rad. I love playing South America.
That's great. We're going to discuss a little more about not only the album, but the live set list, the live show. But first of all, I'd like to discuss some of the member choosing, because you said before that agents wanted Phil Anselmo to ask the lead singer, but you didn't agree and brought Mark, which is a good choice, by the way. What made you choose Mark for lead vocals?
My prerequisite for anybody in the band was I want him to be my friend. I didn't just want to hire somebody I just met. I wanted to have time, and I've known Mark for better part of 40 years. We've lost touch here and there, but we've started to become tight in the 20 teens. And he threw his name in early. He says, you know what, I'm going to throw my name in the hat. And you'd really be surprised. There weren't a lot of people that did that. I think people thought I had it figured out and I already knew what I was going to do. And I listened to the Phil Anselmo talk, you know, because of course all the corporate people wanted that to happen. But I think both of us thought it wasn't right. He's slowing down in life. I'm staying angry. You know, we're kind of going different directions. I'm not up and he's not down. I didn't mean it like that, but it just, when Mark was in context, and Mark was the only one that came and did demos with us. Like for 8 months before he even had the gig, he just come down when he had time and he would do the demos that I sang. Next time he come down, he'd try to outdo him, you know, just keep getting the stuff better. But he's so versatile, you know, he could do so many things, and mine is so limited for him because, you know, it's pretty straightforward and there's not room to branch out into a lot of things yet. I'm not saying that won't happen, you know, because record 2 is probably going to be right around the corner. Record 3 is going to come around. Maybe he'll start writing some. I don't know. We haven't really had those discussions, but we're really just enjoying being out and owning the music and giving the kids what they want to see.
That's amazing, man. And you also said before that you thought about having Gary Holt as guitarist, but you didn't want to become a second Slayer 2. On the other hand, you brought Paul, who's a great drummer, of course, and has a history with you. What made you think Paul as the ideal drummer for this band?
Well, Paul and I work really well together. Whenever he's been in the band working on Slayer stuff, it would generally be me and him, you know, working out new ideas. So I knew that we had a great respect, great rapport. He understands what I'm saying. When I don't necessarily talk English, I'll talk like made up music terms that he and I know. And I'll just say, play that, play that, play that. And he'll just play it and we can get a demo in 5 minutes. And he's a fantastic drummer. So if I'm taking anything from Slayer, I'm taking him. You know, and Gary's my friend. I brought it up to Holt, but as time went by and I had time to think about it, I thought the more pieces I had from the Slayer puzzle would give people more ammunition to talk shit about me. So, you know, I love Terry Date. He did our last record, but I had to move on from Terry Date too. And Josh Wilbur did a great job on this record. So keeping Paul as the only Slayer piece, aside from crew members, I got most of my crew, which is important. That's behind the scenes, but that's important to me as a musician. I know these people. I know they're going to do their job. They're going to keep us in tune, and it's going to be a great working environment.
Yeah, and it feels like home also working with the same people on your crew. I'd like to talk a little more about having Phil Demmel, because he left Machine Head and then started working with you. And he's a legend by himself. But it's impossible not to call this a super group, because all musicians have their previous careers. They're all established. But with Phil Demmel, it seems different because I don't know how to explain. So I'd like to know, how did you bring him to the band?
Phil Demmel is a phenomenal guitar player. Aside from being my friend, which was the first requisite. Just so happened he can play the shit out of the guitar. He came out right after Machine Head, or him and Dave left Machine Head. It was like 2 days later that we were looking for somebody to fill in for Gary in Europe. And I'm really, it's funny how I think about these things, because we were in Europe, so the only thing that came to my mind was European guitar players. And I was striking out. Everybody I came up with couldn't do it or didn't want to do it. And Paul Bostaff said, "What about Phil Demmel?" And I went, why didn't I think of that? It just never occurred to me. And he had just wrapped with Machine Head. So he stayed home, worked on, a lot longer story than that. Texted him, made sure he wanted to do it. He rehearsed, he came in and watched, I think, 3 shows from the side stage, so you can get the pace of the show, see how we run things together, get an idea for how the fire is, because we were running with a ton of fire back then. So, and he came out and did something that, if somebody asked me, say Judas Priest asked me to do that, and I had that amount of time to get ready, I couldn't have done it. And he did it, and he killed it. So he basically told me then, that was a sidebar, but basically told me then, he's like, I want to be a part of your future. And that's when I started thinking about Phil Demmel as a guitar player and how cool that would be to have another piece from another, he was with Machine Head for a long time, plus Violence, plus whoever the hell else he played with. So it was a strong piece for my puzzle.
That's amazing, man. And last but not least, we have Kyle Sanders on bass. And it's funny to watch the concerts, the videos, and see a bass player who's not singing. It's different. But what was it like working with him right now?
I really didn't know how good he was. It's funny. So I'm like, my thing was, I want to be with people. There's no drama backstage. Nobody's going to be a diva. Nobody's going to demand stupid shit. And I knew me and Kyle got along, and I thought, go, why not? And then we started playing, and I'm like, this guy's a beast. My God, he's so good. It's better than I ever gave him credit for. And he's such a big part of the stage show. When my friends come to see us play, probably seen me play 50 times. I'm like, watch Kyle. Just watch Kyle. He'll keep you entertained.
Oh, man. And talking a little more about the show at Bangers Open Air, what can fans expect in terms of the set list? Because I saw you play many songs from your first solo album, of course, some Slayer songs, and some from Iron Maiden as a tribute to Paul Di'Anno, which is amazing. What are you preparing for Brazil in terms of set lists?
One thing I don't know is how long our set time is. So it'll be based on that. I assume, I really don't know what our set time is, but
I think it's 1 hour.
Oh, an hour? Okay.
Full hour.
If we're doing it now, well, in America, we were doing my entire album. I think we were doing 5 Slayer songs and the 2 Maiden songs. So in an hour, we're going to have to cut some of that out. So we'll cut 1 or 2 Slayer songs, cut 1 or 2 of my songs, maybe only do 1 Maiden song. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet, but as many songs as I can squeeze in there, we will play.
That's good to know, man. And what will be the mindset when choosing the songs from specifically your solo record? Or I don't know, you said before that you don't intend to play it in full because of the time, but what is the mindset of when choosing the songs from the solo album to play live?
Well, probably it's by then it will almost have been out a year, the album. So every time we go out, people know it more and more, and they sing more lyrics back to you. But I would probably leave out faster ones, because if you don't know the music yet, faster ones get lost in the mix. I love fast music, but if somebody's coming to the show and not real familiar with my album, I would probably cut one of the faster ones just so they have more they can grasp when they leave. Like, everybody knows the Slayer stuff, and people are starting to know my stuff. I like to get a mix of stuff in there. We'll probably play a Maiden song because we have fun doing it. And one of the things that we do when we do covers, and we've only done 2 so far, but my prerequisite was I wanted it to be by bands that don't exist anymore. Say, for instance, Motorhead, or a song that bands just don't play anymore. And Iron Maiden hasn't done Purgatory since the late 80s, I don't think. Killers more recently, but Purgatory is the one that we really pulled out of the hat and threw that out there. And it's cool for kids to see that because they light up when we play it. They haven't seen that song in 30-something years, just because Maiden don't play it.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you about your relationship as a fan with the Paul Di'Anno era from Iron Maiden, because this tribute during concert is really cool. And my favorite era from Iron Maiden is with Paul Di'Anno. I don't know if it's yours also, but how did this idea come?
It's a long ways. Me and Jeff Hanneman talked about doing Purgatory ages ago, and we just never learned it, and we got lazy. It probably was in the 90s when everything was lazy and no one had any kind of good work ethic. So we got this band together, and Demmel was talking about doing something, and I might have broke off into a Purgatory riff, and he's all about doing anything you throw at him. He just wants to play. And Purgatory came up. we were on tour, and I'm like, hey, I played Killers in the past. If you want to play Killers, we can do that in Australia. And then we come back to the States, I will have Purgatory down. So we started playing Killers. And then the States, we started doing Purgatory, and then Killers without an intro. Just everybody knows that bass intro, and kids love it. You know, they love that there's one song, and then when we do two, it's even more of a bonus for them.
Absolutely. Going a little back about the process of putting together a solo band and kind of starting over, I read an interview with Geezer Butler, and when he tried to put together a band after the end of Black Sabbath, like 7 years ago, and he gave up after realizing that he would have to travel by van, stay in cheap hotels and all that. Obviously, he's older, but were you also afraid of starting over and going through each of these stages again?
I didn't know how much starting over we would have to do.
Yeah.
Because I am kind of a household name, but my band is new. I knew we'd be playing smaller venues. I knew we weren't going to get hotels every day. But I really liked the product, and I really liked this band together. So it was worth, losing some of the luxuries that I've had in the past, but if we have any kind of career, those luxuries will come back. And we're certainly having fun doing this. So when we played Reggie's, I'm like, welcome to starting over, guys. It was a tiny, tiny room, but we did some festivals in Europe last year. We were second on the bill on our stage at Hellfest. I thought that was an incredible, humbling experience. In a lot of the places over there, we had really good positioning. So we're starting over, but we're in a really good place.
Absolutely. And at the same time, do you feel that it has been rewarding to go through this? Does it give you a different kind of feeling when compared to Slayer?
It reminds me of when Slayer was starting out. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's hanging out. The shows. I mean, we know what people do at venues now. We know they're going to crowd surf. We know they're going to mosh. But with my new dudes, it's like a new experience. Playing the venues. Our first sellout was in New York City this last run, and that's where I live now. So it was kind of a new hometown show. It was huge. The energy was great. And then 3 of the last 4 shows on the West Coast were 3 places I lived. So I had 3 hometown shows out of the last 4 shows, and what a mess. But they were great shows.
That's amazing, man. And talking a little more about your first solo album, From Hell I Rise, as you mentioned before, it's celebrating its first year since its release. Looking back a year later, how has this album aged for you? How do you see it right now?
A lot of records I've done in the past, by the time I'm done recording it, I'm tired of it. While I'm in the studio working on it, I might use it for my gym music, exercise, but not much beyond that. And this one, From Hell I Rise, is still my gym music a year later. I'm very proud of it. It's a heavy hitting record from top to bottom. There's no filler on it. And I'm hoping to keep that momentum going into record 2.
Oh, that's great, man. And I know, of course, all your songs are like our babies, but is there a particular song on this album that you see as the strongest, maybe your favorite song, or the one that best represents the band, maybe?
That's difficult because there was so much material that we took out in the beginning because we would have been wasting our time rehearsing all this stuff when we could be streamlining the stuff that's going on the record, which we chose to do. But man, because there's so many different flavors on this record. The first single, Idle Hands, it sums up me in between Slayer and this. Where I Reign is the same way. It touches on my history, but launching into something new. I like how we hit the moody song with tension, and I got that performance out of Mark, which I shouldn't even worried about that, but until you achieve something with somebody, you don't know if they're going to hit it right. So it's tough to say. I would probably say idle hands, because it's such a timely piece. The title is perfect for in between my first band and this band, and it's got the riffs, it's got the vocals, it's everything is represented in that song.
Good choice, I must say. And as you mentioned before, I think I understand it right, but are there any plans for a second album for record number 2?
What I want to do, I made up 2 songs since I've been home from this U.S. run, so we keep working on stuff. We haven't played together yet, but we have stuff to work on when we get together. What the plan is whenever cycle 1 is done, and right now that looks to me like October. Paul and I have always talked about going straight from recording, from playing live, taking maybe a week off and go right in the studio to keep your tour chops. So, you're firing all cylinders. You don't got to practice to get good. You're already good. And get in there and record it. So ideally, in my perfect world, it would be done this year, and then just hand it to the record company and say, put it in line whenever you want it to come out.
That's good news, man. And would you like to continue exploring the sound of From Hell I Rise? Or would you like to, I don't know, maybe explore some different influences, like going a little more into punk rock or sounding like Season the Abyss or something like that?
I don't know. I think punk was pretty well covered on that record. From Everything I Hate About You to Two Fists, 2 very different punk styles.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if that shows up, because it's part of my history. And I think overall my thought would be just make the extension from what From Hell I Rise is, just keep doing, see what the next 10 or 12 sound like.
Oh, that's great, man. And I heard you say in another interview that you'd like to work with the same producer, Josh Wilbur, again. What did you like the most about his work as a producer?
He, a lot of musicians say he's like the extra person in the band. He was like member number 6, and he really was. His skill at the Pro Tools rig, he's so fast. Like he would get on his computer, and I'm just sitting there with my guitar trying to figure out how to play something better, and he's just doing his computer, and he's like, bam, 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 bam. How's this? I'm like, I don't even know where you are. He's so fast and so good. I don't know what he did. He would have to show me. I'm like, yeah, it sounds great. But I could not follow what he was doing. His mind is going a million miles an hour. And he definitely became familiar with the songs before we recorded them. He came in with suggestions before the last, week of rehearsals and shot most of them down, but we kept 1 or 2. It's like, I'm open to ideas. Usually I've thought of them, but he had a couple that I didn't. I'm like, I like that. I can't believe I didn't think of that. So yeah, he was very hands-on, very cool guy. Loved working with him, and he loved working with us. So we're hoping the windows line up to where we're both free.
That's great. Well, I know we're here to talk about your solo band, but I would also like to talk about these upcoming Slayer concerts. One of them seems to be very special since it's Black Sabbath's farewell concert, like a huge festival also. What are your expectations for these shows, not only the Sabbath one?
It's I've already thought about being at that show very early, because there's a lot of my friends that are going to be playing Sabbath songs. And I want to see a lot of it. I'm sure the stage is going to be a nightmare getting onto, so I'm hoping there's live feeds backstage so we can just watch it and hear it. I want to see Metallica. I want to see Pantera. I want to see Lizzie Hale. Just to name a few. It's such an honor to even be thought of to play that, and I'm glad we were actually in the working mode so we can get that offer. It's going to be awesome, and I've already I drug my feet and picked our song really late, so when there weren't as many obvious choices, but the one I picked is going to work out really cool. I worked it out with my band so me and Paul could rehearse it. So we've already got it. We just got to get Tom and Gary on board whenever, probably in June, we'll rehearse for that. It's going to be killer. What we're doing is cool.
That's great. And you're doing more concerts with Slayer. There is the postponed concert from last year because of the festival stuff that happened, and some concerts in the UK. Am I right?
There's 2 in the UK right by that Sabbath show. And then there's 1 in Quebec that's right near the Sabbath show. So there's 4 shows right there. Then there's the one in Kentucky that's getting made up. And then there's the one in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that's just attached to that other one. So there's 6 shows this year.
That's amazing, man. And how is the internal atmosphere within the band with this return, because you're not going to record music and stuff?
Yeah.
How are you guys dealing with each other right now?
Just like before, we show up, we play our gig, we go home. I'll talk to you in 6 months. Maybe.
Maybe. Oh, man, that's great. I would like to talk a little more about your previous trips to Brazil, more specifically the first and the last. The first one was 1994 at a festival with Kiss, Black Sabbath, and other bands.
That was with wasn't that with Tony Martin singing?
Yes.
Yep.
Tony Martin and Bill Ward, that kind of never happened. They playing together because they had Cozy Powell, other drummers during the Tony Martin era. So we had a special concert with Tony Martin and Bill Ward, that situation.
Yep.
What was it like playing here in Brazil for the first time? Not only the concert, but being in Brazil for the first time.
It's such a different culture. It was cool to come to and check it out because the touristy things here are different than anywhere else in the world. And the first time you go, hell yeah, I'm a tourist. I got to check stuff out. Go home with stupid masks I shouldn't have bought, but they were cool. And I was so into them when I got here. I'm like, I got to take some of this stuff home. So, we did my souvenir shopping, and it's funny. I remembered that was Tony Martin. I don't know how I pulled that out of my ass, but that was a weird time for Sabbath, but it was still cool to play with them. It was great. And Kiss, I don't think I knew the guys in Kiss then. It was much later that I knew. Well, I'm barely acquaintances with Gene, but Paul's always been cool to me. So it's always cool to come down and have a big show like that with some bands and Kiss. I'd never really met them. Sabbath, at that point, I didn't know the Sabbath guys either, so I was super scared to talk to them.
Really?
Hell yeah. Tony Iommi, man. You don't just talk to God.
Do you remember the first conversation with him?
Hell no. I did. It would probably been around the 2000s when Sabbath was on the Ozfest we were doing. But I remember one time in particular, we were at a hotel. A lot of times the band stayed in the same hotel, and I opened my door and Iommi's walking down the hall, and I just put my head down and I said, "Hey, Tony." Like, I can't even look at him. So that would have been early 2000s, because when I finally got over the hump, it was 2006, Classic Rock Awards, and I was the presenter of an award to Tony Iommi. And that's when I felt like we were bros.
Oh, that's great, man. And the last visit happened 2 months, I guess, before Slayer performed. That would be the last concert. You came to Rock in Rio and also played a show in São Paulo. What memories do you have of those final concerts in Brazil?
I do remember that one because I think I remember Diano was at that show, that Rock in Rio. And I think he sang with one of the opening bands. And Maiden was playing the same day. And all I thought was, Bruce has got to be hot over that. Because they played one of the earlier bands played a Maiden song, Diano sang, and Maiden's playing later that night. So that was very weird, and I'm sure far more tense than I knew.
I think it happened the other Rock in Rio edition that you guys came. You came in 2013 also, I guess.
Is that when it was?
Yes, because they had Iron Maiden and Paul Diano.
There you go. That was probably it.
I would love to listen to this story because, man.
Whenever we'll see. Sorry, I thought that was the last time we were here, but it's confusing, man. You come back so often.
And especially because I think Iron Maiden played both festivals in 2013 and 2019.
That wouldn't surprise me because if there's going to be a metal day, that's when we would show up. That's when Maiden would show up. So that makes sense.
Yes, but a commentary that I read a lot about the São Paulo concert, the last concert here in Brazil, it was the walls were sweating because it was so hot during the concert. It was in a not a club. It wasn't like a closed arena, not open air, and the walls were sweating. I wasn't at that concert. It's like almost like we can feel hell here with Slayer.
Yep. Yeah, fire goes well with us.
Yes. And do you know anything about the heavy metal culture here in Brazil? And of course, everybody knows Sepultura, but besides them, are there any bands that you have listened to?
I don't even know what part of the world we would be in, but there's a Brazilian band. I can't remember what they're called. But I saw it, and I think they didn't get the gig because they were from Brazil, and it was so far away from where we wanted them to be. Because, you know, it does cost money to get places.
Absolutely. But you don't remember the name or the sound?
I don't. Like it was during this last, it was something, you know, something metal. It was on this last tour that I got it, but yeah, maybe it's a girl band.
Oh, probably Nervosa or Crypta.
I think it was a girl band.
Nervosa is like more thrash metal, and Crypta is more death metal.
Okay. So I'm not positive, but definitely one of those two.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video.
Yeah. And I mentioned Sepultura. There's an old rumor that Slayer and Sepultura had a feud before everybody became friends. And is that true? What happened in that sense?
In my opinion, it was just, you know, too much testosterone in the room. You know, we had our producer, Andy Wallace, who did 3 records for us. And they started using Andy Wallace. Everybody was calling him Baby Slayer anyway. So then they take our producer, and it was just one of those things, not even a misunderstanding, just press getting a hold of something and running with it. I'd never had anything against those guys. I love those dudes.
Oh, that's great. And it's decades ago, right?
Yep.
Your team told us that you enjoy a lot of the so-called soft rock, like Elton John, Eagles, Boston, Foreigner. I was supposed to talk to Jeff Pilson and Luis Maldonado, some members of Foreigner, like 3 hours ago, but it didn't work out. We'll reschedule. But I love also this band, AOR, soft rock. I don't know.
Pilson's in Foreigner now?
Oh?
Pilson's in Foreigner now?
Yes.
I've known Pilson since the Dokken days. And he always turns up in a different band. I'm like, what are you doing here? I saw him. Well, we have the same manager for a long time. And I saw him at I can't even remember the event, but it was at Wendy Dio's house. Too much entertainment, man. But I saw Pilson there, and I'm like, what are you doing here? It's one of those guys that turns up everywhere. And I'm like, always, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I think he plays with Foreigner like since the 2 decades, I guess. But,
wow.
But for me, he's the Dokken guy. It's strange.
Well, yeah, that's where he came from.
Yeah, but I was going to ask you, what else do you like to listen other than heavy metal? What's on your playlist?
Probably the last 10 years, I've been going through a really big Ritchie Blackmore renaissance. Deep Purple, Rainbow. He was such an overwhelming guitar player and so good when a time that you didn't really notice. You know, it was more about the jam. That was a very jam-oriented era of music. But he wrote some killer fucking metal songs, you know. They're not hard rock. They are metal. And there's some great stuff. Like I said, from Deep Purple to Rainbow. That was a great, great time for music. But you would expect that from me. You know, other than that, it's basically whatever my wife's playing on her iTunes. You know, I used to have iTunes when you used to carry an iPod, and then my iPod became obsolete, and I never moved on from there. I just went, well, there goes my technology. Fuck.
Oh, man. But you mentioned Ritchie Blackmore. I have to talk about it because he is one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And at the same time, I feel also that he's like underrated because people talk about the stuff he did backstage, the feuds with Ian Gillan, stuff like that. But they forget that he was way ahead of his time. I agree.
And he got a really good sound out of a Strat. And I'm not picking on a Strat, but let me clarify. He got a real heavy sound out of a single coil Strat. And that was hard to do then. And And he made up, Burns, one of my favorite riffs ever.
And Glenn Hughes is going to play in the festival, in the Bangers Open Air Festival also.
My day?
Not your
Fuck.
day. Oh, man.
I love Glenn Hughes.
He's playing like the warm-up day on Friday. He's going to play with like Doro and other 2-3 bands. And then the festival starts properly on Saturday, and you're playing on Sunday.
Glenn Hughes is a really cool dude.
Yeah, I talked to him like 3 or 4 times. He's amazing. He's an amazing musician, amazing person also.
And he still sounds great. Yeah.
All right, man. For my last question, let's look back a little on your upcoming plans. You mentioned, I don't know if you're going to tour more as a solo artist in this year. You have this Slayer concert scheduled. You're thinking about the record number 2 when you're going to record. But what else do you have planned for this year?
We're back here early in May. Then Slayer does a Sabbath thing in July. Then my band is back in Europe August, September, or July, August. I can't remember. I think 4 or 5 weeks of shows for KK. And then we've got Aftershock for my band in October. And I think we're doing Japan in October. And that's, as far as I know, that's it.
Busy year, you must say.
Busy.
That's good. All right, man. I think
I like being busy.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy Brazil, not only right now, but when you come back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, when I come back for the show, I think we got a couple days off after. So I would definitely stay in Sao Paulo before going to wherever we're going next.
That's great, man. Thank you so much, man.